It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here. So welcome to Mind Your Business. I'm Jamillah Lodge, and I'm very pleased to have you, Adrienne Smatt, owner of Adrienne Smatt Designs. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to talk about you first.
Okay.
And then we'll start the entrepreneurial journey kind of question and answer session. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Bermudian. I'm a Bermudian artist, first and foremost. Grew up here, went to school here, left for university, where I studied fine art with a concentration in photography and sculpture. And then I came back here in the height of the economic downturn of, 2010. Mm-hmm. We thought that was bad.
Right. And
then things happened. Right. But anyway, so it was hard to find a job, and ended up in journalism. And I've had a few different jobs since then, which have led me to where I am now, I guess. And then my business is Adrienne Smatt Designs. I think it's a little bit more difficult to define. But I'm an artist, and if I take from my tagline of my email, it's specializing in customizing or personalizing your special item or day. And that's what I like to do. I like to make things special for people and doing it in a handmade goodness kind of way.
That's really good. I mean, I think... So my daughter's an artist, right?
Okay.
She loves art. And so my husband is an economist. And so she's only 10, so she has time. But in conversations, it's like, oh, well, what are you going to do when you get older? Like, what are you going to do with your art? How are you going to do it? And so, right. And I'm like, let her be herself.
Fabulous question.
You know? And so I think to hear you have been able to take something that you enjoy doing, that you're passionate about, and turn it into a sustainable business is very comforting. Take that, honey. It's possible. So I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of that journey, like how you ended up deciding this is what you want to do. And I may go off script, like all the way off script.
That's fine.
It's just whatever you say, I'm gonna, whatever pops in my head. But hopefully, it's something that you know.
Let's hope I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that part. No, so really, like, when did you say, okay, I can do this?
Well, there were a few different circumstances. I think, first of all, I'm a child of entrepreneurs. So my parents have always owned their own business as far as I've known. I mean, my dad prior to me had other jobs. My mother obviously had other jobs as well. But they started the bulk buying business in Bermuda. So that was them. Price Busters is my parents. So I am used to watching entrepreneurs work hard and do the things. And I will say that there's a ton of Bermudians being entrepreneurs, doing the hard work, and it's so heartening to see. And we're all out there doing the things. So it's not a journey for the faint of heart. And I knew that going into it. But so that was sort of the background. And then the full-time job I was working at, I think 7 or 8 years ago, I came into a situation where I realized there was no upward growth for me. And I had been sort of side hustling with the calligraphy at the start of, and that's how I grew my business, was starting with calligraphy of all things. With Nikki Begg of Bermuda Bride. She had looked out or posted online asking who could do calligraphy. And I actually, where I had been working was literally one door away from where her studio was. Okay. And I walked out of my studio and into her studio, and I was like, I heard you were looking for a calligrapher. And so I had been doing that for a few years with her and other bridal organizers and that sort of thing. And I thought, well, if there's no room for me where I am, maybe I can do this. And my parents were super supportive, and they said, if it's not right for you where you are, figure it out. And here we are.
I love that. And it makes a difference, right? To have the support, because you're like, it is going to be a risk.
Yeah.
because you have that guaranteed income from a 9 to 5 or whatever the time is you make, and then going out on your own, that means now you have to figure out a way to ensure that you can pay those bills and buy groceries and all that good stuff. And it's not for the faint of heart, like you said, but at least you saw it in your parents, so you had something to model after. So you knew what it took.
Yes.
Some people romanticize entrepreneurship.
They do. And being the kid of an entrepreneur, I will say, there were a few times where I was left at school because, they forgot or they were doing something else and they just didn't have time. And I was like, well,
Hello,
and you realize, and in the days before cell phones. So,
yeah.
But that being said, they provided a great life for me and my siblings. So I can't knock it. Stuff happens.
Yeah, it does. Listen, I'm like, what was my excuse? I'm not running. Parenting on its own is hard, let alone running and operating a business too. Yeah. So now you mentioned a lot of different jobs.
Yes.
So journalism, videography, photography.
Yeah.
What is it? Calligraphy.
Yes.
How has, I guess, being a part of all of those different things impacted your current business?
Well, I don't think I've ever fully let go of any of those jobs.
Okay.
You gain skills along the way, and I'm a big skill collector, just inherently. I watch a ton of YouTube, probably too much YouTube, and I gain skills from all of these different things that I'm watching in, they call it the maker community. So people like me who like to make stuff and not necessarily sell it like I do, but just, they want to make furniture or they want to decorate their home or they want to cosplay and make their own costumes or whatever. And that's not my jam, but I love watching people doing the stuff that they love to do. So I think I take all of those skills and then people come to me with ideas for stuff and I'm like, I have that skill. We can figure it out together. And that's sort of how things start is you have a conversation with somebody and figure out what you can do for them. If I have the skill, if I don't have the skill, can I pull from somewhere else? And so all of these past jobs with journalism, jewelry, photography, my art school, all of these different things have come into play with what I'm doing now. Okay. So, when you have to market yourself and you're an introvert, you pull from that journalism.
Yeah.
And you just say, listen,
just pretend
you figure it out. When you, don't necessarily know how to do something, I think back to maybe university where I was learning new skills with new tools. And it's like, I know I can figure this out.
Right.
And that's what I do. I tend to figure it out.
I think you bring up an important point. As an entrepreneur, it's like this lifelong learning or this lifelong curiosity, right? Inquisitiveness that you have to ensure that, to me, I'm like, you're staying ahead of the game, right? Because other people can come and make stuff. Yeah. Other people can do the things. So it's like, how do you ensure that you are staying ahead of the curve or always reinventing yourself? Right. Which to me sounds like that's what you have been doing.
Not on purpose, but I think inherently, yes. And I think you're right. I think a lot of entrepreneurs sort of inherently have this ability or this desire to seek out knowledge and seek out skills and tool up and retool and stay ahead of the game, because that's how you keep your business valid and people talking about it and doing the things. Because if you don't retool, if you don't keep up with the times, you're destined to fall behind, definitely. I mean, I saw in some of the past jobs that we got made redundant because we didn't keep up with the times. And it was unfortunate. One of the big news companies went under because they didn't keep up with the times. But, this is, you learn from that. Yeah. You want to make sure that you're not that person.
Yes, that you don't fall into that box and be like, nope, you can't tell me because I know. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the types of products and services that you offer, right? And then how you identify your target customer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like, I know you said you have journalism, so you have to market yourself and all that kind of good stuff. But you do so many things.
Yes.
like how do you, or do you narrow it down to say, okay, I'm going to focus on this and this how I market? How do you get your name out there? What are the things that you do to do that?
Well, as I'm sure you know, Bermuda is a big word of mouth community because it's so small. Places like Matches List have just like they can make or break a business.
Yeah,
but for a lot of small businesses, it's a great place if a few people know you, for people to be, when asking questions about something that you potentially do, for other people to advocate for you. So I think you got to make sure that you have a tribe, so to speak, around you who's willing to vouch for you.
Yeah.
And that's part of the way that I get out there. I get, people asking stuff on Matches List. I have a website. I think a lot of local businesses, particularly established businesses, I think newer businesses are up with the times, but established businesses are missing out on potential customers by not having a website. I want to know what you do. I want to know what your hours are. I don't want to have to search through Google. I don't want to have to find your Facebook page and search through all this stuff. I want to go to your website. I want to know what it is you do, when you do it, and how I can contact you. And I think when the BEDC did this recently with me. They used my contact form on my website. And 95% of the time when I get somebody using the contact form on my website, that's a sale.
Right.
I know that these people are serious.
Really,
and so I think a website's a great way. Obviously, your tribe is a great way. And finding new events and stuff to go to. So obviously, it's not a place for me, but the Black vendor market that just happened, great. Have those vendors there. That's a great place, I think, for new businesses to be and established businesses to be, just for the whole community to see you and your products and the stuff that you do. Find those markets. Go to those places. Show yourself.
Right.
So I also do Harbor Nights, which it's a slog every summer, and this will be my third summer doing it. But you meet so many interesting people. I've had some opportunities arise from there. So I think those are probably the three things that you want to do. You want to find the markets that you can be at. You want to have your tribe. And I think a website or social media presence is super important as well.
And one of the things that I want to focus on is the tribe part.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like people are like, oh, I need to get more and more. I need new customers. But I feel like if you build your tribe, then you can get repeat customers.
Yes. And I do have those.
Right.
And I love that. So, for example, one of my past coworkers, who's now also a coworker again, she helped me get my first job when I went solo. When I left the full-time job, somebody had come to her, actually Andrea from Salt and Cedar had come to her and said,
hi, Andrea.
Yeah, great, love Andrea. I'd come to her and say, hey, can you do this mural? And she said, you know what, I don't have the capacity, but you know who you should talk to? Me. So she pushed her in my direction. That was my first mural project that I did, was for Andrea at Salt and Cedar. She's now since expanded. So that was when she first made her brick and mortar. She's since expanded that business. It's a bigger space now. That wall that I did the mural on no longer exists because they blew it out. They needed the space. And she came back to me and said, can you do another mural? So repeat customers, love that. I've had plenty of people come back for different Christmas gifts. Oh, you made this for me. Can you make one for my friend or whatever? And I love that. I love that people enjoy what I do enough to come back.
And I think that the key is that it is the personalization and customization that I don't think you can get all of the time.
No.
And I think, especially in the age of like everybody's ordering off Amazon and you're getting all these different things. But I think it's very nice to be able to get something, or a piece of Bermuda, if you will, produced by a Bermudian, with the skill set and all of that. Speaking for us, we got these beautiful cedar can openers.
The bottle openers.
The bottle openers that you did for us, which are beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm like, that's not something that you're just going to see all the time or get all the time. And those are the kind of unique things I think that you can create.
Yeah, and I love that. So I'm always looking for what is a product that Bermudians will love. Bermudians love Bermuda cedar in little ways when they can. And what is a product that people are actually going to use and appreciate. So bottle openers with Bermudian culture, it's a great gift.
Right.
Just to be upfront, pretty much everybody drinks. And even if you don't drink alcohol, there are other things that require a bottle opener.
Exactly.
So that's great. I'm looking into, wine stoppers, wine opener, that sort of thing. I've had a lot of requests for that. So that's something else I'm looking into. Charcuterie boards, the adult Lunchable has really picked up. It's for a few years now. People love feeling a little bougie and serving their cheese on something. So I'll do sometimes a Bermuda cedar board, sometimes bamboo, and it's all customizable. And particularly when I'm at Harbor Nights, it's interesting. People come over and I think some of my stuff may look a little plain, but when I give them the whole spiel about how I can customize it right on spot, they're like, oh, this is very different. Yeah. Nobody else at Harbor Nights is doing that customizable on the spot. There are obviously companies that will customize stuff for you, but it is not instantaneous. And 9 times out of 10, possibly larger, it's not done by hand.
Right.
So I think that's super interesting and fun for me to be able to provide that service for people.
And it's an experience. It's like you're sitting there watching this being made, and you can tell your friends or your family about
we met the artist.
Yeah. We met the artist. She did it right there on site. I said I wanted this. She did that. So I think that that's really cool that you're able to do that. Can you say, out of all the things that you do, like, what is the thing that you enjoy doing the most?
I'd have to say the murals that I do, I think. I love creating the products. I love having a stock of stuff and that, and researching new things to do, and then actually having a physical thing. But murals are really fun for me. Discussing with the client what they want, a little bit of back and forth with the design, their input, my input, and then at the end of the day, them saying, "Oh my God, this is great, and this is going to change the way our room is or whatever." I've done private, I've done corporate, I've done outside, and now I'm going to be finally a part of the Bermuda Walls project. Yay! So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And that was another situation where it was sort of like, make sure you get yourself seen, right? Yeah. So I happened to see Nuri. He came into where I was working. I was like, you know what? Now's the time. I got to talk to him. And literally that week, they were making decisions about who was going to be a part of it. And he was like, "We'll make it happen," as Nuri does. So
that's Nuri. But I think that brings up another good point. And you mentioned that you're an introvert. Yeah. But then you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they're there, right? Sure. Like, no, I got to rehearse. I got to put, like, you needed to have said that to him at that time so that you could be considered for, you know what I mean? You didn't know they were making their decisions there.
No, I didn't. And I think my friend Shelly Johnson from Bermuda Broadcasting, she has always said, ask forgiveness later. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think, yes, ask forgiveness later. Like, if it was the wrong time to ask, I'm sorry, but also, when else am I going to have this opportunity? Right. And I'm not saying push yourself on people, for sure. Obviously, it needs to be an appropriate moment. Yeah. But I think take advantage of stuff that you can. It doesn't hurt to ask. And if you don't ask, you're not going to know.
I tell people,
they may not know that you exist either.
Don't get fed, right? Like, you have to say, "Hey, I'm hungry," and then somebody could potentially share some of what they have. So kudos to you for doing that. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. We work with Nuri to support that project because it's great. I mean, it's a way to beautify the island. So I'm glad
the Bailey's Bay project that we're going to be a part of is all locals, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the railway trail. I think it's going to be awesome.
I hope I know Nuri will. I was like, I hope he gets footage of all that, the behind the scenes, but I know he will. So what would you say, of all the things that you do, you like the murals, what would you say has been the most challenging part of starting, running, and operating a business?
When I got sent some of these questions ahead of time, I had a good think about this, and I think I wrote like 6 different things down. I think the top thing for me is probably pricing. And within that, it's not just like a dollar value. It is figuring out what you are worth, not just your product or whatever. I mean, like I said, I collect skills. I've spent my whole life collecting skills. I have always had an interest in fonts. I used to every year at school, for whatever reason, change my handwriting because I was like, ooh, I like the way that person does an A.
Right.
And, and so it's just
the bank. And now they don't like to see you come and they're like, this is not.
And now here we are with calligraphy and pyrography and all the other crazy stuff that I do. But I think just valuing all that you've been through, right? So I went to school for arts. It's not calligraphy. It's not murals necessarily. I have had all these different jobs along the way. I have collected all of these skills, and this goes for anyone. This isn't just me. You need to figure out what your time is worth and then stick to it. You need to know what you are worth and then value yourself as such. So when I first started doing murals, I think, doing the calligraphy, I was charging, I think, $50 an hour. And a friend of mine, Hannah Emerson, who does the sandcastles and stuff, also in the creative space, she said, absolutely not. She said, double it. She's like, if I'm charging whatever I'm charging for sandcastles, you can charge this for calligraphy. Right. You can do it. Your skill is worth that. You are worth that.
Yeah, because who else is doing it, right?
Right. And I was terrified that I was going to lose clients, that nobody was going to come to me, that I was going to be too expensive. And as it turns out, I think when you price yourself right, when you value yourself, the right people come to you.
Yes.
And it's not this nickel and diming or whatever it is. And I'm not saying price yourself out of the market. Right. That'd be dumb. But, figure out what you're worth and then value yourself. Yes. And sometimes that's hard. There's a lot of self-doubt and stuff that happens with entrepreneurship. You're like, did I make the right decision? Yeah. Should I have left that job? But when you know your history, when you know what you've been through and all of the skills that you have, you can absolutely charge that. And you need to trust your gut on that one.
Yeah. And I would say nobody can do it the way you do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes people are like, oh, well, so-and-so's charging this. So I want to make sure I'm less than that because it's like, well, yeah, but so-and-so is cutting corners. So-and-so is using stencils. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
But also, I think there's room for everybody too,
there
right?
Is.
So with the murals, there are plenty of people doing murals. And I'm even discovering new people just being a part of this Bermuda Walls project that I didn't necessarily know. And I've probably seen their work and just not known who they are. But that being said, there is room for all of us because, like you said, not everybody does it the way you do.
That's right.
So the people who want what you do will find you, and they
will pay for this. And you mentioned finding the right customer because sometimes, like, you price yourself so low, you're not really getting the customer that you really want. Correct. You're getting the customer that is coming. Yeah. And you're missing out on the opportunities for like maybe larger, bigger products and stuff. So I'm glad that you said that because it is difficult, especially I think for creatives who oftentimes are doing things that they actually enjoy doing, that they would do for free.
Yeah, monetizing stuff that you enjoy is hard.
It's hard because you're like, I do it for free, but I got to eat this week. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. So no, I think that's a very important part that I think a lot of people in the creative space and creative industry struggle hard with. Yeah. You're not alone, but that you come to the conclusion that, I have to value myself. I have to value my time. That sometimes takes people a long time to get there. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned that murals is your favorite. Yes. You love doing murals. But you do so many other things. Yes. Like we mentioned, we bought the cedar bottle openers from you. And what I often want to try and communicate to creatives is that you can do the thing that you love, but sometimes you also have to identify something that you have to do. Yeah. In order to be able to afford. Yeah. You know what I mean? So how did you kind of go through the process and determine like, okay, this is the thing I enjoy doing, but I also need to find something that I can turn out.
So it started with calligraphy, and then the first job that I got when I went on my own was a mural gig. And then from there, I had been researching for years about different tools and stuff that I could use. And that I thought would be the future. So probably, I don't know, 2013, 2014. I'm very bad with timelines. But when I was still working for VSB, I was looking at like a laser. And I thought, I think maybe this is where the future is going. And at the time, I couldn't afford it. And then I retired for a weekend from a job. They were offering early retirement. And so I took it and I retired. And they gave me, the retirement bonus or whatever from the year that I had been working at that company. Amazing. And with that money, I bought a CNC machine. So the CNC is a computer operated router. And that's how I make the bottle openers.
Okay.
And well, those bottle openers, because I have a couple different kinds. But at the time, I thought, I think this is the future. And I think I'm right. I think the robots aren't necessarily going to take over because you need humans to operate the robots. But finding ways to automate what you do. And so I took one of those, business Spark courses. And in the interview for that course, they said, well, have you thought about how you can automate what it is that you do? And at the time, it was a lot of calligraphy. It was a lot of murals. And I thought, I'm a little offended.
Yeah, like, I'm an artist.
That's what you would ask me to do when the product is me.
Yeah.
You can't automate me. AI can't build a mural the way we can. They can't paint it. They can't, So I walked away from that with like a visceral reaction. And I still kind of have that same visceral reaction. But there are ways that you can expand and do stuff and still keep your integrity. So I think even though I do use a machine to make some of my stuff, there is that handmade element when I customize it, when we come up with a design together, when you say, I may want this type of hardware instead. Like all of that is handmade to me. And that's part of what I love, the handmade goodness part of Adrienne Smatt Designs,
That's funny. I think it's funny because I've had conversations where people have been like, the nerve that you tell me to create something that can be mass produced.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want you to eat. I swear. I don't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
But that is the conversation I think that needs to be had, right? You're not sacrificing your creativity or your artistic nature because we want you to be able to sustain yourself and pay your bills and things like that. And there is a way to kind of bridge that gap. Like you said, utilizing the technology to help do some things that maybe you like, can you imagine like engraving, like
carving stuff out.
We don't have to do that anymore.
And if we did that, it would be $400 for a bottle opener this big. So
exactly. You still got to pay for the time. Yeah. So I think being able to find where that kind of sweet spot that allows you to express yourself creatively and then also create products that people can purchase readily or quickly or whatever. Like I liken it to you do this fabulous art piece like on canvas and oils or watercolor, whatever, and then you make prints of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you do that? Now everybody can have a piece.
Accessible art. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that I think is something that we want to try and continue to communicate to the creative community because it is possible. You do not have to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
You can actually eat well and do the things that you love. So you grew up with entrepreneurial parents.
Yes.
You saw them, you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I will be doing that. So what are some other lessons that you learned from maybe seeing them or having gone through your own entrepreneurial journey?
I read something the other day, and I wrote it down because when I read it...
you got a whole dissertation.
Well, journalism.
There you go. That's right.
And it said something... Oh, this is what it was. I felt almost attacked because it was so accurate. And it said, basically, the crux of it was if will drag all your insecurities into the light. And it's true. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you... if you wonder if this is too expensive and you drop your prices, things are going to go wrong. You're not going to find that right client like we spoke about before. People aren't going to believe in you if you don't believe in you. You got to be your first advocate. If somebody's coming into this and thinking, oh, maybe I can do. It's not about maybe.
Yeah.
You do it, and then you'll see if it works or not. You can't maybe it.
You're absolutely right. And it's that confidence, right? People want to trust you. They want to be like, oh, exactly. She got this. I know that if I'm picking her, I'm going to get, a good thing. But if you come in like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. Like, did she actually create the thing?
Yeah. Or can she do it again?
Yeah.
Or, and people, when I've worked in jewelry and people are like, oh, well, is it too much? This piece, is it too big or whatever? And I'm like, it's never too big. You could be the tiniest person and wearing this huge thing around your neck. It's about confidence. It's about how you believe that it belongs in you, then it belongs on you.
Right.
If you believe you can do that thing and you've produced it, then people will believe that you can do that thing and you produced it.
Yes, and be willing to pay for it.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest lesson for people coming in is you have to believe in yourself. You have to have you have to have confidence, but don't be arrogant about
it. Right. So for you then, when would you say you learned that or you came to that realization?
It's hard. There's still times where I'm like,
Yeah.
And again, with this Bermuda Walls project, I'm going to be next to all these people that I've been looking at their work for a while now. And I'm like, well, is my stuff going to be good enough?
Yeah.
And I think, everybody has an idea of what it is that I do, but the stuff that they have seen has been commissioned. I haven't had a chance to do what I necessarily want to do. A lot of people want these monstera leaves. And I'll do that. You want to pay me to do that, I will definitely do that. And I love doing flora and fauna and that sort of stuff. But for me, having the confidence to do exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's still coming. But you make these little steps. You do these things. You say, you know what? No, I have
you
art
got it
at Hamilton Princess. That's next to Banksy. That's all next to all these other Warhols and stuff. That means something. And
it does.
And you gotta find ways to cheer yourself on.
Yeah, keep saying that. Just put something, make a voice note and just play it. Put your earphones on and be like, I am next to Banksy, okay? I got this. I loved having this conversation. Can you believe it's been 30 minutes?
No.
It goes so fast when we're having fun. I would like to give you an opportunity to say, like, any last words of encouragement to those entrepreneurs listening who might be like, I don't know if I can do this. And then, of course, your contact details so people can follow up with you.
Okay. Well, I think Bermudians inherently are entrepreneurial, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. I think every Bermudian's got an idea for something. And test it out. See how it goes. I'm not saying put all your eggs in one basket, but you never know what it'll turn into. I mean, it was me side hustling calligraphy of all things, which, a lot of people think is a dead art. But like here we are 7-8 years later, and I have something that I can actually call a business and tangible stuff that is in people's houses and that people like. So, I mean, if you want to like what I do, if you want to pay me for what it is that I do, you can contact me through my website, which is my name, which is adriennesmatt.com, or, Instagram, Facebook, Adrienne Smatt Designs, on both of them. So, yeah.
Adrienne, thank you so much for coming. Of course, we will be continuing to work with you for business. I have another opportunity, which I hope that you would consider, which I'll tell you about afterwards. Okay. But I just want to thank you for minding your business with us today.
Of course.
And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.